Before we start the podcast, I just want to talk to you guys about Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast, and let me explain why. First of all, it's free, so you can get it anywhere, anytime, costs no money. Second of all, there's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer, whatever device you choose. As well as that, Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more platforms. You can make money from your podcast too with no minimum listenership. That means a nobody podcast like mine can make money off of sponsorships. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So if you haven't tried Anchor or you want to start a podcast and haven't tried it yet, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. That's ANCHOR.FM to get started.
You're listening to the Dillo's Dojo podcast, hosted by Dylan Dillo Smith, Midwestern Ontario one and only MMA podcast, where we interview MMA fighters and voice actors like Sergeant Frank Woods.
What is up, everybody? It is Dillo, and welcome to another episode of the Dillo's Dojo podcast. This is episode 42, and this week we got a little bit of MMA for you, but before I begin, I just wanted to say I'm recording this late on Sunday. I am trying to kind of be as quiet as possible, but not, quiet enough. And I might be a little energetic because the Colorado Avalanche just won the Stanley Cup, and London's own Nazem Kadri just brought home the Stanley Cup, basically. But we have quite a little bit of MMA to talk about this week, stuff that passed and stuff incoming. But before I begin, I actually want to talk about something real quick. It's not even MMA related. It's literally just something important to just content creators in general. So if you are a Canadian content creator, this is important. You're going to want to hear this. So Canada has been trying to pass a bill known as Bill C-11. I made a mini about last week or 2 weeks ago that essentially explained what the bill is and how it can currently affect Canadian content creators such as myself and YouTubers, anybody of the like. Basically, what the bill is trying to do is it's trying to have big companies, big Canadian companies, big Canadian media conglomerates regulate what or how we make our content now in Canada. That doesn't mean we're losing our freedom of speech with what we post on social media, but as for content, basically what we need to do now with content, if this successfully passes completely, is we will be having to run by the same regulations that big production companies and big TV shows have to run by. So very strict regulations, essentially. Some of the regulations include, I guess, stuff having to be inherently Canadian enough to pass as perfect content for a Canadian content creator. So your content needs to either involve a Canadian setting, be used by a Canadian product, or just needs to be inherently Canadian in some way. It has to be. It's a stupid bill. And the reason why I'm talking about this is because I talked about it like last week, the week before, and essentially the reason why I'm talking about it is because just this week, a preliminary hearing for it passed, or like the lower parliament passed the bill. So now it's moving up to upper parliament, which means it is literally its foot in the door from passing. All it needs to do is get the good to go from upper parliament, and basically the bill has passed. And now content creation rests solely on the rules of big Canadian media companies, which I don't agree with. So basically, if you're a Canadian content creator, you should fear for your content in the future. Don't fear for your life or fucking the fact that you might commit a crime, because you're not gonna. But just for your channel's futures, if you're trying to monetize the content and that's your job, I'm urging you guys to take action due to the fact that this is serious for your channel. It could potentially ruin your channel, and it could potentially make monetization a lot harder for your channel. So what you can do is you can contact your local MP, whoever it is in your area. This is strictly for Canadian viewers, by the way. So if you want to skip, I'd say skip to like 5-6 minutes is when we're probably going to start talking about all of the MMA that happened this week. But if you're Canadian, contact your local MP and just write a very long and strongly worded letter, not swear words or anything, but very articulated but strongly worded, and just bring up good points, your points of how this bill is going to affect you as a content creator. And if your job is just, it happens to be content creation, then that's even better. Let them know how this ruins your source of income now, and essentially ruins future sources of income for a fledgling market, a very fucking rising market, let's be real. So what you can do is contact your local MP, write a letter to them, and just explain to them how this affects content creators, how this is not good for the content creation industry here in Canada, and just kind of articulate your points and let them just kind of bring them onto our side, essentially. Maybe they can voice their opinions in Parliament, and when it comes to upper Parliament trying to pass the bill, maybe they can sway the decision if enough people contact their MPs. So that's the way you can combat it. There's other ways. Just Googling the bill. The government of Canada actually has the bill for you to read to kind of understand what it will be. So kind of read that at your own leisure and make your own judgments. But anyway, that's it for that topic. I just wanted to get that out of the way because that was a serious thing that happened this week, and not even a single bit of media attention happened except for the people who were directly involved, like YouTuber JJ McCullough and stuff. But anyway, on to the MMA. We had approximately 4 MMA events that weren't UFC that happened this week. 5, actually. We had Fury FC 56, Cage Warriors 140, Aries FC 7, and we had, I believe, Front Row Fight Club 1, which is a little rinky-dink Canadian promotion that I am following, and I was actually really excited to see the debut of. But we also had Bellator, so that makes 6. We had Bellator 282, so I want to talk about that. But let's start off with Front Row Fight Club, because it's the promotion that I was excited for. It's a rising, up-and-coming promotion. They just had their first fight card, and despite it being a smaller fight card, even though it had a lot of fights scheduled, they did have a decent fight card regardless. There was 4 fights on the fight card, come fight night. A lot of people had to pull out, mostly undisclosed reasons, but some of them due to disclosed injuries and stuff. And regardless, they managed to have a fight card the same way BTC does every goddamn event. They'll end up losing most of their event, but they still have 4-5 fights. So they'll run those, and it'll be a really decent event for rising up, up and coming fighters that are here in Canada. They want to get into the MMA game. It's perfect. And Front Row Fight Club is one of those promotions that's aiming to do that, and I'm excited for it. So in the first fight of the night, we had Nathan Ledger up against Marco Carlotti, and Nathan Ledger was coming in with a brutal, abysmal 0-5 record, and in fun Mark Hunt fashion, knocked his opponent out in the second round, dropped him with a punch, and just stood there and taunted him like, "What?" and then walked away as the ref stepped in, because the ref knew as Buddy dropped, he was done. Like, the punch, you can't quite see the punch land clean because so much happened, but when Buddy drops, you can tell he's kind of ready to defend, but he's not all there. You can see it in his face, you can see it in his eyes. He's like, whoa, what the fuck just happened to me? He's out of it. So Nathan Ledger picks up his first ever win and moves to a 1-5 record, and that was just the first fight of the night. The second fight of the night was a first round knockout by Matthew Langlis, and it was a quick one too. It was actually very fucking quick in the first round, moving himself up to a 2-3 record. In the co-main event, there was Gino, I'm not going to even try to pronounce that name, Galaparadas, against Noah Crosswell, and that was actually a really decent fight. Back and forth, very hard fought by both guys. It could have went either way, but ultimately it was Gino that picked up the very razor-close split decision, and that brought us to our main event, which was none other than Michael Imperiato, which I believe he's had a couple of fights in LFA. He's had some fights here and there. Never really made it to the UFC, but nonetheless, a pretty decent Canadian fighter up against 7-7 Keith Carson in the main event, just to kind of close off the show. And Michael Imperiato just picking up a quick mounted guillotine submission. Yeah, mounted guillotine, not like regular from bottom guard guillotine. Either he fucking reversed that shit, or he just decided, I'm in fucking full guard, or not full guard, top mount. I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna fucking go for it. And he got the mounted guillotine in the first round, capping off what is hopefully to be the first of many fight cards from Front Row Fight Club. So that was awesome. I'm gonna potentially buy the fucking show to watch back, just because I was excited. I missed it. And I want to watch it back just because it just seemed like such a high energy show, despite it only being 4 fights. But that was Front Row Fight Club. Next up, that I'm going to talk about, was my highlight of the weekend, in my opinion, where Cage Warriors 140 happened. I've said this before in podcasts, and I'll say it again. Out of all the little regional promotions that bring people to the UFC, I think if we're going feeder organizations, LFA is the best. But when it comes to shows and the fights they put on and the quality of the shows, Cage Warriors, without a fucking doubt, every single fight card puts on an incredible event that just leaves you remembering it for weeks to come, man. And there's a reason why they've become my favorite local promotion or regional promotion in the last couple months, and it's because of the events that they put on. And honestly, man, Cage Warriors 140 is absolutely no exception. They had incredible close fights that ended in majority decisions, majority draws, and non-stop fucking finishes, including the main event, which was 5 rounds but only made it to 3, and was just an all-around classic between both guys. So I'm going to get into that for you guys. Starting off with Ryan Shelley versus Matthew Elliott, where they fought and ground out a hard-fought fight where Ryan Shelley managed to get the split decision to start off the main card for Cage Warriors 140. And if that wasn't enough for a hard-fought, razor-close fight, Federico Pasquale and Harry Hardwick went up against each other at featherweight as well and fought an absolute back-and-forth fight where the judges just could not determine who the winner was, and ended in a majority draw. And that was it. That was it for the main card when it came to decisions. The next 3 fights, we had James Sheehan versus Martin Koss. And James, with the vicious punches to put an end to the fight, only a minute 16 into the second round, it was a great way to cap off the next 3 fights, because the next fight was a vicious finish, a TKO finish made by Callan Loughran against Festus Arolu, I think was his name. And it was brutal. It was a beautiful finish, a nice mixing of strikes. And if that wasn't enough for your bloodlust, we had the main event of the evening where these guys ended up scrapping in what's probably going to be an all-time classic in Cage Warriors history. Reese McGee, who, if you didn't know, kind of sounds familiar, don't it? He fought in the UFC and suffered a vicious quick loss against Hamzat Chimaev, but he's back in Cage Warriors. This was a title fight for the vacant welterweight strap, and Reese McGee just outlasting Justin Burlinson in an all-out classic where both guys went back and forth. It was constant grapple reversal, constant back and forth on the feet where they were just hurting each other, wobbling each other, dropping each other, but ultimately it was Reese McGee that picked up a brutal knockout of Justin Burlinson where he outlasted Burlinson, mixed up the strikes, and Justin Burlinson just couldn't go on anymore. The ref had to step in. But it was a beautiful fight. Justin Burlinson should not leave that fight with his head down, because he put on an all-time classic for everyone that was watching, including myself. Oh my God. It was the epitome of why I love Cage fucking Warriors, man. Cage Warriors has probably hands down the best regional promotion when it comes to the quality of fights and the production value of events. The only thing I don't like is their ring announcer, because it's not his accent. It's how he basically slurs into each word. He's trying to slide into each word with no, like, cut in between. So it just sounds like he's drunk and slurring even from the start of the night. But if they got rid of that ring announcer and got somebody more professional, my God, man, Cage Warriors would be an absolute powerhouse like they are now in Europe. Like, it's insane the quality of shows they put on. But enough of me jerking off Cage Warriors. I do that enough in other podcasts when they have events. Let's talk about the next fight of the night, which is Aries FC 7, a French card where we had two title fights going on, a vacant middleweight strap fight, and then in the main event, we had the undisputed welterweight championship. So let's get into this. I'm going to butcher a lot of names. Oh boy, let's fucking go. To start off the main card, we had Shamil Gaziah up against Karil Kornilov. I'm proud of myself on that one, guys. I got those perfectly. I'm looking at my notes right now, and my God, there's a lot of red lines. So bear with me if I brutalize these names. Remember, I'm just a silly North American. So if I brutalize these names, it's my bad. I apologize. I mean, no disrespect. Genuinely. But we had Shamil Gaziah versus Karil Kornilov. And those guys just ground each other out to a split decision where Shamil got the judge's nod. The judges just felt, two of them felt Shamil got the better of Karil. And Shamil edged out a split decision, moves up to 8-0, and gives Kornilov his first loss. It was a someone's O has got to go situation, and boy did it not disappoint. The next fight was a lightweight clash between Damien Lapillus and Eamonn Ayub. Both guys with huge veteran-like records. Damien Lapillus coming in with a 20-13 record, and Eamonn Ayub coming in with a 15-6 record, or a 16-5 record. My guy, sorry, I mixed that up. Both guys just slugging, but Damien Lapillus, or Lapillus, whatever you want to pronounce his last name as. I'm brutalizing these names again. I'm sorry. But it's Damien ultimately putting on the pressure and forcing a doctor stoppage with the brutalization where he picks himself up a win, man. It's beautiful. And I think I got the record of Damien wrong as well. I think I was writing it wrong when I wrote down these notes. My bad. I'm assuming it was 19 and fucking 14 because I think I wrote their records after their results. My bad. So the next fight of the night, though, was a heavyweight clash between Luis Henrique and Slim. Yes, his name is Slim. That's fucking awesome. Slim Trabelsi. I don't know why, man. That fucking name that sounds so cool. Slim Trabelsi, dude. That sounds fucking awesome. But Slim Trabelsi outworking Luis Henrique just in basically every aspect of the game, just picking himself up a unanimous decision victory and moving himself up to 4-0. My God, man. I'm sorry. I'm just drooling over that name. Slim Trabelsi sounds like a fucking cool-ass name. Sounds like a hitman, dude. Sounds like a dangerous hitman. That's fucking awesome. The next fight of the night was a featherweight clash. This one is the featured bout before the two co-main events. And I have a feeling I'm going to butcher the names in the main event, so bear with me. But this one was William Gomez up against Jose Marcos. And William Gomez in the third round picking up the ground and pound strike finish after grounding it out an entire fight against Jose Marcos. Both guys just fighting hard, but William Gomez picking up the dominant position and just raining down the shots. Jose Marcos not being able to continue anymore. The ref, he just saw enough, had to step in. Now, co-main event of the evening for Aries FC, boys. Let's get to it. We have Ahmed Salamov and Jose Galindo going up against each other for the vacant middleweight strap, where in the first round, not even 3 minutes in, didn't even give him a good chance. 2:28. Ahmed Salamov picks up the rear naked choke submission and gives Jose Galindo his first loss and picks up the Aries FC middleweight title. What a way to win. Gives this man his first ever loss, embarrasses him, and then gets the strap while at it. But if that wasn't enough, we have a main event for the welterweight championship. Abduraguimov, I think. Bear with me. Going up against Karil Amosu for the welterweight championship. He is an absolute beast, Abdul is. And he showed it in the main event. Completely battering Karil Amosu and forcing a doctor stoppage before the second round can even begin. He ends up picking up the welterweight championship, and that is it for Aries FC 7. What an incredible night of fights. This promotion alone is just picking up incredibly and is definitely one to watch. It's bringing French MMA into the absolute limelight, especially now that it's legalized there. So it's one of those promotions that have kind of been lost to the public eye, but I'm so glad it's here now. Next up on the chopping block is Bellator 282. Don't worry, I'm not going to go through all of the prelims. I just want to I was kind of curious. I wanted to talk about Kat Zingano and how she kind of struggled against her opponent a little bit and picked up a couple fouls. And how about Alexander Shabili, man? Just completely ruining Brent Primus in the second round. Like, brutally knocking him out, man. Like, what a finish. But that's it for the prelims. That was it of note anyway. What we want to talk about is the main card. We had Brennan Ward up against Cassius Kanye. Or Kane. Whatever. I think I actually misspelt it. Because there's no way there's another man named Kanye. And with the last name Kanye. I refuse. I'm going to say Kane. I think I misspelt that. So Cassius Kane going up against Brennan Ward. And these guys put on an absolute clinic. A fucking all-around classic. Brennan Ward, though, just putting on an absolute striking clinic. And in the second round, just pouring up the shots and the combos. Forcing a fucking standing TKO. Just Cassius had no choice but to cover up. And the ref had to step in to save him. It was chaos and brutality. It was awesome. But if that wasn't enough, we had the first of two Bantamweight Grand Prix fights, and they were the quarterfinal fights. We had Magomedov going up against Enrique Barzola, and holy fuck, these guys put on a show. Enrique Barzola has probably given Magomedov his hardest fight yet. Magomedov arguably lost quite a few rounds and took fucking complete punishment from Barzola. Barzola just surviving, but ultimately after a chaotic back and forth fight, Magomedov picks up the guillotine choke on Enrique Barzola in just maybe under 2 minutes into the fourth round. After just jumping into championship rounds, Magomed picks up the submission and moves on to the semifinals of the Bantamweight Grand Prix. Almost said the Bantamweight Grand Prix. I fucking hate my life. So we have the co-main event now, which is another Bantamweight Grand Prix fight. This one was a bigger challenge. Danny Sabatello versus legend Leandro Higo. And Sabatello, man, nothing to really say here. Sabatello just making it an easy fucking fight, outworking Leandro Higo on the ground and just implementing his game plan for all 5 rounds. It was an easy night at the office for Danny Sabatello. And I think I can say the exact same for our boy, Johnny Eblen, going up against Gegard Mousasi for Mousasi's middleweight title in the main event. Mousasi is a legend in the sport. 49-7 coming into this fight. Over close to, close to 60 fights in his entire career, and that's just MMA. That doesn't include his kickboxing fights, his boxing fights. Like, he's an absolute legend in combat sports. This man has fought in every promotion from Pride to the UFC. This man left the UFC for Bellator while in the midst of an absolute streak that possibly could have won him the middleweight title at the time. However, he was having issues with the UFC. He signed with Bellator, became their middleweight champ, and has dominated it ever since. That is until Friday night. Johnny Eblen just outworking Gegard in every aspect of the game. Like, you'd think Eblen would bring a grapple-heavy game, but Gegard No, he grappled the fuck out of Gegard and made it an easy fight, but even on the feet, he was slipping Gegard's punches, hitting Gegard with good shots, outstriking Gegard in every aspect of the game. Johnny Eblen outworked Gegard Mousasi and earned himself the middleweight title. I believe it was a straight up 50-45 on all judges' scorecards. It was an absolute domination by Johnny Eblen. And he is your new Bellator middleweight champion. And honestly, congratulations, man. Like, well deserved. That was a fucking showing against an absolute gamer in Gegard Mousasi. Like, yes, Mousasi's getting older, but even in his last fight, man, he didn't look bad. He looked still in shape, still almost in his prime. Johnny Eblen beat a fucking good Gegard Mousasi and made it look easy. So Eblen's going to be a middleweight champion for a while unless the UFC come knocking and he likes what they're offering, dude. Like, he's going to be Bellator's middleweight champion for quite a while, I think. But anyway, that's it for Bellator 282. I fucking love Bellator, man. That's one of the non-UFC major promotions that I actually enjoy. That being said, there was also PFL. Honestly, nothing to really talk about other than Anthony Pettis getting completely twisted by Stevie Ray, which was fucking awesome. But other than that, nothing really of note to actually talk about. Other than all the fights kind of settled the fucking semifinals, and that's about it. But I like what their format is. Like, I like what PFL's doing. I just don't care enough. I'll care when, like, named fighters that I know are there or prospects that I like are there, but yeah, I just don't really give a fuck. The only other cool thing that happened at PFL this weekend was literally Juan Adams won a fight finally. After begging for a fight for like the past year and every fight he had falling out, he finally picks up another win and starts a streak again. And I'm so happy for him because the dude's such a good-hearted guy and a talented fighter. So it's just nice to see. But that's it for PFL, basically. I know why you guys are here, though. I know exactly why you guys are here. And that's for YouTube boxing. I'm fucking kidding. You guys, you lovely fellers and ladies, maybe no. I'm giving myself more credit than I deserve. All men, but fellas, you guys are here for the fight night. Let's go right through it. Not much to talk about for the prelims other than Cody Durden fucking ruining JP Buys in round 1. Like, it started off pretty slow, both guys trying to get their range. All of a sudden, I think Durden hit JP Buys with something, wobbled him. JP Buys slipped. Durden took that chance, took his back as JP Buys tried to get to his feet, and was just unloading shots, not allowing JP Buys any chance to breathe. And, dude, it was quick. It was like a minute and 8 seconds. I hate Cody Durden, but it was a fucking fast and violent finish. Like, just brutal. It was a great way to kind of get the card going. And if that wasn't enough, Mario Batista, man. Brian Kelleher and Mario Batista just fucking toughing each other out, feeling each other out, trying to range each other. All of a sudden, like lightning quick, like a fucking spider and a fly, Mario Batista just catches Brian Kelleher in a guillotine and just sinks it deep, man. Like, I mean, it was deep. It was deep, and Kelleher had no choice but to tap, man. He was not going to fucking go out. And if that wasn't enough for prelim finishes, to finish off the prelims, we had Carlos Ulberg, city kickboxing fighter Carlos Ulberg, going up against Tafin Nchukwi and finishing Tafin Nchukwi via TKO, I believe, or KO, either one, quickly. Like, I mean it, quickly in round 1 to cap off the prelims. So I said it, I think a couple podcasts ago. This fight card did not look good on paper, but I assure you that despite it not looking good on paper because you don't know most of the names, it's still going to deliver. And I was right. I was fucking right. Because the prelims alone gave us hard-fought fights and brutal finishes. But if that wasn't enough, Chris Curtis and Rodolfo Vieira. Chris Curtis, man. I didn't realize how many fights the man really had. Like, he has almost 40 fights. Probably 40 fights. Yes, actually, 40. The man has 40 fights. But last night, the man completely outworked Rodolfo Vieira. First takedown of the fight. It was the first attempt. They were about to get to the ground. It looked like Rodolfo was about to get the actual takedown. Nope. Like lightning quick, like a snap of the finger. Chris Curtis just scrambles and reverses that. Next thing you know, Rodolfo's on his back. Chris Curtis does not want to grapple with Rodolfo, though. Vieira's a dangerous submission artist on the ground. He gets back up, and then the rest of the fight is just Rodolfo trying against the cage to get takedowns, and Chris Curtis just completely stuffing them and making it look easy, and then counter-punching and just counter-striking Rodolfo, just tiring Rodolfo out. He ends up picking himself up a unanimous decision over Vieira. All judges' scorecards saw it the same way, 29-28. It was just a complete domination by both guys. Or by Chris Curtis, not both guys. But Rodolfo trying his best to get the grappling going, but unfortunately could not. The next fight, though, was just a brutal domination of basically everything. A complete grappling clinic. Umar Nurmagomedov going up against Nate Maness. And yes, that is Nurmagomedov of Khabib Nurmagomedov. I believe he's actually Khabib's cousin. Khabib was in his corner, too. And my God, man, the fucking Nurmagomedov chops are there. He just completely wrestle-fucked Nate Maness, made it look so easy, completely dominated him the way Khabib would his opponents, and by the end of the fight, ended up picking up a unanimous decision that was different on all judges' scorecards, but towards the same man. One judge saw it 30-27. Another judge saw it 30-26. And then one judge saw it, ready for this? 30-25. That's how bad he dominated Nate Maness on the ground. It was just 3 fucking rounds, 15 minutes of Umar Nurmagomedov just wet blanketing him and just raining down different shots and just threatening everything, not allowing Maness to even get up off his feet. And then when he was on the feet, Nurmagomedov picking up a nice fucking kick. It was just a complete domination of every aspect of the game. Nate Maness could not get his game plan even started. Umar Nurmagomedov came out swinging out of the gate with a takedown and got it immediately. So by the time, as soon as that happened, I knew that night, last night, I knew exactly when that happened. I'm like, this is going to be the fucking story of the fight. And sure as shit, it was the story of the fight. So Umar Nurmagomedov dominates on all judges' scorecards. That brings us to the next fight, which is Thiago Moises going up against Christos Giagos. And my God, both guys swinging and trying to grapple, but ultimately Thiago Moises just takes Christos's back while standing and threatens the rear naked the whole time. I know it's dangerous. You shouldn't fucking flop onto your back to get the opponent off because they could potentially sink the choke deeper. But I feel like that was the only way they could that fucking Christos could get out of that submission, or to grind Thiago's back against the cage. But none of that was happening, and Thiago just, after working hard for it, picked up Christos's neck/chin, I guess, and just got the choke easy, man. It was fucking hilarious. I was looking away from my screen for a second and then looked back. Next thing I know, I'm seeing Thiago Moises climbing Christos's back and getting the choke. I was like, oh fuck, he got it. And if that wasn't enough for your finish fix, you wanted another finish, the heavyweights happened, and it was Josh Parisian versus Alan Bedeaux, and both guys swinging and banging and grappling in the first round, tiring each other out, as heavyweights do. In the second round, though, it was a grapple fest where ultimately Josh Parisian managed to reverse the position he was in, get the back of Alan Bedeaux, but not completely, and just rain down shots where Alan Bedeaux wasn't even moving. He just stayed in the same position, didn't wiggle out of danger. He just held his hand there hoping to block shots, and the ref saw enough. The ref was like, you're not defending yourself intelligently. The most you're doing to defend yourself is putting your hand there. You're not moving out of danger. You're not trying to advance position and get out of there. You're just eating shots. You're tired. I'm putting an end to it. Josh Parisian picks up a fucking gruesome, not violent, but just a grindy TKO over Alan Bedeaux in round number 2. And if that wasn't enough for finishes, we had the co-main event of the evening. Shavkat Ramonov going up against Neil Magny, a grappler's delight. Shavkat Ramonov, though, just being the complete dominant grappler, out-grappling Neil Magny for the entirety of round number 1. And then when we come to round number 2, it's the same story, same fucking book. Shavkat Ramonov gets him down on the ground, completely dominates Magny every time Magny tries to advance position. And then in the final seconds of round number 2, Ramonov picks up a guillotine choke and just chokes out Neil Magny in the final seconds of round number 2 to pick himself up another win. And he moves himself up further in the rankings, potentially. We'll only find out on, I believe, Tuesdays when they release the rankings now. And if that wasn't enough, we didn't have a finish in the main event, but we had 2 lightweight bangers going up against each other in the main event. May not look good on paper because it's rank 11 up against rank 12 in the main event, but both of these guys are fucking monsters. Just absolute, like, perfect mixed martial artists. This fight was an incredible back and forth fight, and the best way I can describe it, other than back and forth and fun, is a beautiful mixing of the martial arts. That is not me being silly. They quite literally mixed martial arts. They boxed, they kickboxed, they grappled the ever-living fuck out of each other. There was hardly ever a moment of domination on the ground. It was constant scrambling, constant reversals. On the feet, it was back and forth with the punches and the jabs and the kicks. Like, it was just a literal mixing of the martial arts. And ultimately, after a close decision, a razor-close fight, Mateusz Gamrot picks up the 48-47 unanimous decision over young Arman Tsarukyan, man. It was a fight to remember. It was a clear, like, everybody was bitching about why rank 11 is facing rank 12. But after that fight, I don't think anyone is bitching anymore. I think people fully understand why Gamrot and Tsarukyan were the main event, because both guys are on a collision course to fight each other, and both guys are exciting action fighters that are incredible in every aspect of the game. It's an even fight. It's going to be high-paced. They knew it. The matchmakers knew it, and we got exactly what the matchmakers wanted. It was beautiful. So if anybody wants to, watch it back and you have Fight Pass and you missed it, do it. It's a fun fight to watch. If you love just the martial arts, the mixing of it, it's a beautiful display. It's an absolutely beautiful display. I love it. I'm probably going to watch it back after I'm done recording, to be honest. It's a nice fight. I love it. But that's it for the fight night. Mateusz Gamrot potentially moving up further into the lightweight rankings. We'll find out this coming week, potentially Tuesday or Wednesday. I can't wait to see where he ends up. And tough luck for Arman Tsarukyan, but there's nothing to hang your head about. He gave Mateusz Gamrot an incredibly hard-fought fight. And honestly, just because it's Gamrot, there's no reason to feel sad about the loss. You're still a fucking beast. Like, Tsarukyan is still a complete beast. He showed that. So, there's nothing to hang your head about. That's it for the fights that happened this weekend. Let's get into next weekend's pay-per-view. I cover it every goddamn podcast, but let's be real, I cannot get over how stacked this fucking card is. Like, this is the early prelims, the Fight Pass prelims. We have Jessica Rose Clark up against Julia can't fucking talk today, Stolarienko, Brad Tavares versus Drissis Duplessis, Jessica I versus Macy Barber, and then Uriah Hall versus Andre Muniz. And that's just the fucking Fight Pass prelims. You want to hear the ABC prelims? We have Jim Miller versus Donald Cerrone opening that shit up. Ian Gary versus Gabe Green. Robbie Lawler versus Brian Barberena on the ABC prelims. And then to end things off, we have a banger between Brad Riddell and Jalen Turner, man. Like, holy fuck. Those are just the prelims. Remember, those are just the prelims. We still have an entire main card to talk about. That starts off with fucking Pedro Munoz and Sean O'Malley squaring off. And then Miesha Tate squaring off against Lauren Murphy. Or no, wait, that was canceled. I believe somebody else is stepping in now. But if that wasn't enough, we have fucking Twitter fingers, edgy 13-year-old Sean Strickland going up against actual murder artist Alex Pahea. And then in the co-main event, a fight that I personally don't think should happen, but because there's no other contenders and Max is the bona fide number one contender, it's happening. Volk versus Holloway 3. And then in the main event, fucking Izzy versus Jared Cannonier, man. Like, this fucking entire card from top to bottom is stacked. It's gonna be a complete fucking banger. So do not miss the pay-per-view this weekend, because if you do, I'm gonna be very disappointed in you as an MMA fan, because as an actual MMA fan, no, even a casual wouldn't miss something as fucking stacked as this. This is a stacked card in, like, the epitome. It's the epitome of a stacked card. Every fucking area of the card. The early prelims, the actual prelims, the main card, every single fight from top to bottom, stacked to the gills. So do not miss this pay-per-view. I am quite literally jizzing over this pay-per-view. But anyway, that's it for this week's episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It's a little bit of a quicker one. I tried to kind of knock everything out quick. Not a lot of MMA happened this weekend, but, you know, a fair bit to talk about. Enough to talk about, so that's good enough. That's good enough for me. But anyway, that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your week. And like I said, don't you fucking miss the pay-per-view. I will be very disappointed if you miss the pay-per-view. Anyway, that's it for the episode. We've hit 40 minutes. I will see you guys next week after probably the most stacked card of the year. Anyway, enjoy the rest of your week, guys. I will see you guys in the next episode. Peace out.
You've been listening to the Dillo's Dojo podcast. Keep in touch with Dillo on his social media at Dillo Ross on Twitter and Dillo Ross on Instagram.